You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Section 1 Introduction. The Great Arab Revolt, or simply the Arab Revolt, was a major uprising by Arab forces against Ottoman rule during the First World War, primarily in the Middle Eastern theater. Inspired by an exchange of letters between British Representative Henry McMahon and Hussein bin Ali, leader of Hejaz, the revolt began in Mecca on June 10, 1916. The Arab fighters' main objective was to create a sovereign, united Arab nation from Aleppo in the north to Aden in the south, a goal they believed had the support of the British government. Led by Hussein and his Hashemite family, with assistance from British military forces stationed in Egypt, the Arab fighters successfully drove the Ottomans out of many areas, including Hejaz and Transjordan. By 1918, they had taken control of Damascus and established the short-lived Arab Kingdom of Syria under Faisal I, Hussein's son. However, unbeknownst to the Arab nationalists, the British had secretly agreed to the Sykes-Picot Agreement with France, betraying their earlier promises to the Arabs. Instead of establishing a single Arab state, the post-war division of the Ottoman Empire's Arab lands resulted in multiple territories governed as mandates by the British and French under the League of Nations. Meanwhile, the remnants of the Ottoman Empire on the mainland of Anatolia faced occupation by the Allied forces, but this occupation was eventually overturned by the Turkish War of Independence, which paved the way for the modern-day Republic of Turkey. Section 2 Background. The growth of a sense of national identity in the Ottoman Empire can be traced back to at least the early 19th century, with 1821 marking a significant point. Arab nationalism, in particular, emerged from the eastern Arab regions, notably the Levant. The Arab nationalist movement before the First World War was relatively moderate, advocating for reforms rather than complete independence. These reformists sought administrative autonomy, a stronger presence of the Arabic language in educational settings, and the adjustment of the military conscription laws to allow Arab soldiers to serve closer to home within the Ottoman military. The impetus for change accelerated with the onset of the Young Turk Revolution that started on July 3, 1908. This uprising quickly proliferated throughout the empire, compelling Sultan Abdul Hamid II to reinstate the 1876 constitution and summon the Ottoman parliament back into session, a period referred to as the Second Constitutional Era. In the subsequent 1908 elections, the Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, representing the Young Turks, took greater control over the Liberal Union, championed by Sultanzadeh Sabahaddin. The new parliamentary representation included a variety of ethnic groups, with Turks, Arabs, Albanians, and others, totaling 142, 60, 25, and so on, respectively. The CUP then prioritized governmental centralization and modernization, advocating a blend of pan-Islamic, Ottoman, and pan-Turkish ideals, an ideology malleable to the changing political landscape. Yet at its core, the CUP harbored Turkish nationalist ambitions, aiming to assert a dominance that pricked the sensibilities of Arab leaders, fueling their own nationalism. Arab parliamentarians even supported an unsuccessful coup in 1909 that attempted to undo the constitutional regime and reinstate Sultan Abdul Hamid II's absolute rule. The Sultan aimed to revert to the Ottoman Caliphate's prior religious governance, countering the Young Turks' secular direction. His efforts were thwarted by the 31st March incident, and he was subsequently dethroned and exiled to Thessaloniki, replaced by his brother Mehmed V. Amidst these tumultuous times, Arab intellectuals and leaders from the Eastern Arab territories convened in Paris in 1913 at the First Arab Congress. The gathering yielded a set of proposals advocating for greater self-governance within the Ottoman framework. The demands included Arabic language instruction for elementary and secondary schools in Arab regions, the stationing of Arab recruits in their native areas during peaceful times, and the appointment of no fewer than 3 Arab ministers within the Ottoman cabinet. Section 3 Forces. During the Arab Revolt, it is believed that approximately 5,000 Arab soldiers were actively involved, but this figure mainly refers to those who were part of the Arab regular troops fighting alongside General Edmund Allenby's forces in the Sinai and Palestine campaign. The number does not accurately reflect the irregular combatants led by T.E. Lawrence and Prince Faisal. Notably, during the invasion of Syria, the number of combatants swelled significantly. The British Arab Bureau in Cairo had high hopes that the rebellion would attract widespread Arab support from across the Ottoman Empire, with Faisal and Sharif Hussein anticipating the addition of 100,000 Arab soldiers. However, contrary to the expectations of large-scale desertions, the majority of Arab officers remained with the Ottomans until the end. Arab participation tended to be transient, increasing as battles reached their regions. For example, in the Battle of Aqaba, more than 1,000 local tribespeople reinforced an initial small Arab force for the final attack. Prince Faisal's forces, throughout most of 1918, could have numbered as many as 30,000 fighters. The Hashemite army comprised two different groups: the tribal guerrilla fighters and the more traditional Sharifian army, which included Arab soldiers who had been taken prisoner by the Ottomans and later joined the revolt. Initially lacking in equipment, these forces eventually received substantial arms supplies from the British and French, including rifles and machine guns. In the revolt's early days, Faisal's ranks were filled largely by Bedouins and other nomadic desert dwellers who were more loyal to their tribes than the collective cause and would only engage in combat after receiving upfront payment in gold. The French expended 1.25 million gold francs in 1916 to finance the revolt, a sum that escalated to £220,000 per month from the British by September 1918. Although Faisal had hoped to inspire defections among Arab soldiers in the Ottoman army, the Ottoman strategy of deploying their Arab units to front lines away from the revolt hampered these efforts, resulting in only a trickle of deserters joining Faisal's forces. Before the First World War, Arab conscripts made up about 30% of the 3 million-strong Ottoman military and served in various capacities, some in high ranks. The Ottoman presence in the Hejaz region grew to 20,000 troops by 1917, including the 7 Corps, the 58th Infantry Division, other units assigned to protect the Hejaz Railway, and Fakhri Pasha's Hejaz Expeditionary Force. New formations, like the 2nd Kuvi Muretbe, were established due to frequent raids on the railway. Among the Ottoman troops were Arab soldiers loyal to the Sultan Caliph who fought effectively against the Arab forces. Initially, the Ottomans held an advantage with superior German-supplied weapons, air support from Ottoman and German squadrons, and the backing of local tribes from the Emirate of Jabal Shammar. Ottoman military exploits, however, were hampered by logistical constraints primarily due to the extended and vulnerable supply line via the Hejaz Railway, leading them to assume a more defensive posture. The Ottoman military strategy suffered as supply issues often undermined offensive operations, not necessarily the opposing forces' combat actions. A key strategic role of the Arab Revolt was to occupy a significant number of Ottoman troops that might have otherwise been redeployed to attack key British interests, such as the Suez Canal or Damascus. This strategy allowed the British to engage in more aggressive maneuvers with less fear of reprisal. The British support for the Arab Revolt exemplified a strategic use of asymmetric warfare that has been repeatedly analyzed by military strategists and scholars. Section 4, Prelude to the Revolt. Between November 1914 and October 1916, during World War I, the Ottoman Empire engaged in hostilities in the Middle Eastern Front, in line with the military cooperation they had with Germany. In this period, a number of Arab leaders who supported nationalism in cities like Damascus and Beirut were detained and subjected to torture. The resistance during this time had a flag that Sir Mark Sykes helped to design, with the purpose of fostering a sense of Arab unity to further encourage the uprising against Ottoman rule. Herbert Kitchener, who had been the consul general in Egypt before becoming the Secretary of War for Britain, established communication with Abdullah, which led to a pivotal telegram on November 1, 1914. Kitchener promised the Arabs in the Hejaz region that the United Kingdom would protect the Sharifate's independence and other rights from any attacks, especially from the Ottomans. Sharif Hussein indicated he wasn't ready to sever ties with the Ottoman Empire immediately, with the break only happening in 1915. Sharif Hussein and Sir Henry McMahon exchanged 10 letters from July 14, 1915 to March 10, 1916. Hussein sought financial and military assistance, including £50,000 in gold, along with weapons and food, which the British consented to in McMahon's response. Thereby, Hussein was persuaded to support the Allies, anticipating the formation of an Arab empire, albeit with some British and French exceptions in the region. His decision was accelerated by rumors of his impending replacement as Sharif of Mecca by the Ottomans with a member of a rival clan. Besides his fear for his life consequent to the execution of Arab nationalists in Damascus. Sharif Hussein's armed forces numbered around 50,000, though only a fraction had firearms. On June 5, 1916, Hussein's rebellion began when his sons, Emirs Ali and Faisal, launched an assault on the Ottoman forces at Medina, but were repelled. The formal revolt started on June 10, 1916, with Hussein targeting the Ottoman troops stationed in Mecca. A fierce urban battle ensued in the Battle of Mecca, and despite being outnumbered, Hussein's men, with British support and Egyptian artillery, managed to capture the city on July 9, 1916, after significant destruction to Mecca inflicted by Ottoman bombing. Furthermore, on June 10th, another of Hussein's sons, Emir Abdullah, commenced an attack on Taif, which led to a protracted siege. They ultimately succeeded on September 22, 1916, with Egyptian artillery support. During the early stages of the war, the British and French had already secured the Red Sea from Ottoman vessels. Consequently, the port of Jeddah came under attack on June 10, 1916, by Arab forces assisted by the British Navy and aerial support, leading to the Ottomans surrendering there on June 16. By September's end, the Sharifian army had captured several coastal towns and taken thousands of Ottoman prisoners with help from the Royal Navy. The successful capture of Red Sea ports meant British reinforcements could be deployed, including Ottoman Arab POWs who chose to join the revolt, and Muslim soldiers from North Africa. Despite these gains, around 15,000 well-equipped Ottoman soldiers were still present in Hijaz, and an Arab attack on Medina that October ended in a costly defeat for the Arab forces.